This meeting is being recorded.
It is 9 a.m. on Tuesday, November 7th. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is great to see a good number of people in attendance. We have some great things on the agenda here today and looking forward to them. Prior to getting to some of those festivities, we will move with the dispensing of the minutes from the county board meeting on October 17th, the Personnel Committee on October 17th, and the Personnel Committee on October 24th. They can be approved collectively or individually.
I'll move to approve all three.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shane. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Today's agenda, I understand we have a few things to add to today's agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, our office, and specifically the county attorney, Mr. Lutz, is requesting that at 9:28, we insert number F, which would be a request for board approval to hire a temporary employee.
All right. Is there any other items that need to be added to the agenda?
I have nothing, sir.
All right. Then with that, we'll move, replace F and put the rest of them down. And we will look for a motion to approve today's agenda with the addition of the backfilling of filling of an employment spot.
So moved.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, today's consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove anything from today's consent agenda for further discussion? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
All right.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Holland for the approval of today's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda approved unanimously. Moving forward to today's timed agenda items, we're running pretty close to on time. We can welcome the county sheriff here, Sean Derringer, come forward. We have some recognizing 6 citizens for their life-saving actions in several events that took place here in Wright County over 2023.
This is pretty special. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. This is a little different forum than we've done this in the past. And we've changed a couple of things up in our office and the way that we've done some things. And so this is part of it. And I really wanted to publicly thank those people that in our community that would step up and truly do some amazing things. So they are all here this morning, and they all have people here to support them as well. So without any further ado, I would just call Josh Reed. Would you come up, Josh? Josh is on the Waverly Fire Department as well. I'm just going to read a quick synopsis of each of the incidents. On January 9th, 2023, deputies were dispatched to Highway 12 in Waverly for a medical. A mother was reporting she was on the side of the road in a motor vehicle. Her 1-month-old child stopped breathing, and she had started CPR. Upon deputies' arrival, Waverly firefighter Josh Reed was on scene holding the child. Reed informed the responding deputy the baby was now conscious, alert, and crying. In speaking with the mother, she stated the baby was crying during the drive but then went quiet. She pulled over to check and noticed bubbles coming from his mouth. The baby then turned blue and was unresponsive, so she put the baby on the hood of her vehicle and started chest compressions. When Reed arrived on scene, he took over CPR, did 2 back blows, chest compressions, and the child began breathing and crying. The child was transported by ambulance and reported to be doing well today. That's one example of someone in our community being in the right place at the right time and being willing to take the actions that he needed to. So the child is alive today largely because of the actions that you took. So thank you very much for being here and doing what you do. So all the awards that I'm giving today, there are 4 different incidents. They are all life-saving awards from people in our community. So thank you again. Thank you. Yeah, you'll have you come back up. Can I get Adam and Alex to come on up? Thank you also for being here. On February 19th, of this year, Wright County deputies were dispatched to a possible drowning at the Holiday Inn in Otsego. A juvenile had been found submerged in the pool. Upon arrival, Elk River Ambulance was loading the child to be transported to Mercy Hospital. Deputies spoke to Adam Baumgartner, who was the on-duty lifeguard at the Holiday Inn pool. Adam was stationed at the River Rapids when an adult came running up to him from the other side of the swimming area. The adult female had a child in her arms. The child was unconscious, pale and purple. Adam did not feel a pulse and immediately started CPR. Alexander Johnson saw what was going on, ran over and offered assistance. Alex assisted with rescue breathing until ambulance arrived. Due to the quick thinking and actions of these 2 individuals, the child survived and is doing well. It's one thing to have that as a job and the responsibilities that come with that very important job, but as a bystander to involve themselves in something like that is also pretty special. So thank you. Can I have Todd, Josh, and Clayton come up for this one? Also, thank you all for being here today. This is a little bit longer. There's a lot to this one, and it's pretty special. On June 10th of this year, Wright County Dispatch received a call of a vehicle driving in and out of the ditch, possibly a medical situation. Vehicle proceeded to go off-road and enter the waters of Schmidt Lake. Upon arrival, deputies observed the vehicle partially submerged in the lake. The driver of the vehicle was slumped forward and appeared unconscious. The water level was quickly reaching the driver's upper torso, and there was immediate concern they may be submerged if the vehicle continued to sink. There were numerous individuals fishing at the lake at the time of the incident. Todd Waylock and his son Josh were fishing the lake in their boat and had witnessed the vehicle enter the water. As the deputy approached the shoreline on foot, Todd advised he was a retired Maple Grove firefighter, the right place at the right time, and Josh quickly maneuvered his boat near the vehicle. Todd subsequently entered the water along with Clayton Laney, who had been fishing from shore. They began extricating the driver from the vehicle. The water level was nearing the driver's chin, and it was clear the vehicle was continuing to sink deeper into the waters. Moments later, the driver was successfully removed from the vehicle through the open window. Todd and Clayton guided the driver through the water to shore. The driver was carried up to the shoulder of the road, and the deputy on scene began administering oxygen. The driver had a pulse and was breathing, but unconscious. The driver was found to have a diabetic history, which caused the accident in the first place. This incident could have turned tragic within seconds or minutes if these folks had not been where they were on that particular day and had the willingness to act and put your own safety at risk entering the water in a situation like that. So for that, I really thank you. Here. And the last one, Paul. Can I have you stand up? So was this a family member, a friend? My niece. Your niece. Well, that makes it even more special. You guys are going to have a special relationship. Just in August 10th, Wright County deputies were dispatched to a baby not breathing. Paul Nolden observed the baby eating Cheerios when the baby became limp, slumped over, and stopped breathing. Paul removed the baby from the infant chair and began pounding on their back. The baby was still not breathing. Paul then provided medical quality back thrust with rescue breathing until the obstruction was cleared and the baby opened its eyes and began breathing again. The baby was checked over by paramedics and not transported because of the quick actions of a local hero that was willing to step in and save a child. Thank you very much. Can I ask for a photograph with all of the recipients with the board this morning?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Can't thank all of you anymore, and the rewards of what you've done in your actions, amazing blessings. We're great to have citizens like all of you in this room, in this county.
I get to say it all the time, how blessed I feel with the broad support of the community, that they show their support for us. But this is just taking it a step over and above. This is support for mankind in general, and to be able to be in a position like that and under the most stressful of situations, being able to act appropriately and do what's required to save someone else, that's a pretty special feeling that'll probably live on with these folks for the rest of their own lives. So thank you all. Words don't really seem to do it justice, what you all did. So I appreciate you being here and your willingness to come forward.
I want to shake hands. Thank you so much. What a blessing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. You guys, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for stepping up and being there.
Are we gonna be able to put back in there, or are we gonna get them to be maybe?
Thank you all. Commissioners, thank you for allowing me a few minutes. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll give a few of them a minute. You're more than welcome, any of you, to stay, but we respect your time and understand you probably have many places to go and things to do. Good morning, Chief. Good
morning.
Our next agenda item, we're running a few minutes ahead, but I don't view your grant as being controversial, so we'll just move forward with the discussion on the resolution. You want to?
Absolutely. Good morning, by the way. Thanks for having us up today. Nowhere near as exciting what we just had on your agenda, but in front of you is a resolution to approve Minnesota Department of Public Safety TZD grant toward zero death grant. This is a grant we've been awarded the last 10 plus years, used for dedicated enforcement of both speed, distracted driving, seatbelt, DUI. Basically the major traffic violations that cause the most crashes in the state of Minnesota, and therefore also the most traffic-related deaths. And this grant is for dedicated enforcement for those specific violations.
Very good. Is there any discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution for the Public Safety Traffic Enforcement Grant for $47,300.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, resolution, Commissioner Shane?
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chief.
Hey, Chief Treichler, we did hear at safe school meetings that a lot of our crashes are happening after school. Will you be doing enforcement, like a little more after school?
Probably not dedicated through this grant, but obviously we do a fair amount of traffic enforcement after school. Our SROs are usually pretty busy with that. And if our city contract cars have availability, we've always asked them to kind of help step up because they're aware that both with the bus traffic, student traffic, parents picking up kids, it can be a mess.
It is a mess. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. And moving on to the 923, which we're still moving relatively quick here, but we'll move forward, is to approve the resolution for the Highway Department. You don't look like Chad, but
No.
I think you're still just as good,
I'm
Virgil. We'll
filling
take
in
you.
today, so thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Board of Commissioners. There's two highway items for your consideration today. The first is approve a resolution requesting a variance from state aid standards for the Franklin Township Bridge Project, Eastwood Avenue. And if this seems like deja vu all over again, I would say third time's a charm applies here. The variance was approved by MnDOT at their committee already, but they would like a small edit made in any case, so that's why it's here again. It's a resolution.
All right. Is there any discussion on that, or is I'll entertain that? We'll try with this language here to see if we can get it to stick. So, and-
I'll make that motion.
all right, motion by Commissioner Holland.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, resolution, aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The second item is to approve a maintenance agreement with Hennepin County for bridge maintenance on 3 of the shared bridges that we have between them. And this agreement will be in effect from January 24 to December 28. It replaces a previous 5-year agreement that we had, and there's also a resolution involved.
I'll make that motion.
Pardon me. Motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dietrich. Any further discussion? Hearing none, resolution, Commissioner Holland,
Aye.
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 aye. Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to our 927, which is our 917 time now. Elizabeth, we have the resolution claiming November 17th as National GIS Day in Wright County.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Board, before you is a resolution requesting that the board declare November 15th as National GIS Day in Wright County. So GIS, also called Geographic Information System, is a spatial system that creates, manages, analyzes, and maps all types of data. Wright County is committed to using GIS to inform decision-making and better serve our residents and make useful GIS information open and easily available to the public. So National GIS Day was first celebrated in 1999, but I believe it's the first time we're asking you to declare it here in Wright County. So this year we want to recognize the efforts of our GIS staff, but in future years we'd like to move on to do more outreach or community activities as part of this National Day. So I wanted to thank Larkin Walter, our GIS coordinator, and Alex Murphy, who is our GIS analyst, for all of your hard work. And then we wanted to thank you, the board, for your support of the Enterprise GIS program and for recognizing the importance of having a full-time GIS team here at Wright County.
Thank you, Elizabeth. This is, once again, a great honor to honor them. They create great value here in the county and even outside of the county and to the citizens across the region. So we thank you for your great work. You guys have made leaps and bounds in the things that we can sort out for information, as well as better find information to the citizens. So thank you. And with that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none. Resolution, Commissioner Dietrich.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have the county attorney, Mr. Brian Lutz, is coming forward here on a last-minute request that was unforeseen, which is very understandable.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Thanks, first of all, for allowing me to petition this on. I did reach out as soon as I became aware of this opportunity, and I had worked with Sean and Clay first, but given the urgent timing of this request, I didn't think it made sense to go before the Personnel Committee, so I petitioned just to come directly before the board. As is my style, I'm pretty transparent in my request for board action, so I put all the details in there. But unfortunately, we had an employee who's unexpectedly on leave in our victim witness department. And I guess divinely, I had a former advocate from Rivers of Hope who reached out about the possibility of part-time hours. So I made this request to hire her as a temporary employee under the employment categories in the personnel policy, and I do have money in my budget because I lost Judge Bowen to the bench and had some savings before we replaced him, and also I had a legal assistant who was out on unpaid leave for a while, so I do have savings in my budget to address this minimal expense. So I'm seeking permission to hire her, or authorization to hire a temporary assistant in the victim witness coordinator's spot to deal with this unexpected leave. Certainly entertain any questions.
No, Mr. Lutz, this is great. I mean, not very often are you able to find an individual that would fit into that niche that you can actually get for a temporary period of time that isn't going to require an exorbitant amount of training. So this is what a blessing. So and with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Now moving on to the Health and Human Services portion of the county board meeting. With that, it looks like Jamie's coming forward. The first item on the agenda would be the Health and Human Services consent agenda. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda otherwise for Health and Human Services? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
The only thing I would mention is that the last item on there, the mental health screening grant, we actually already signed it, so we're bringing it now to get the approval. It was, probably should have come to board before that, so it was just an error that I created and I caught, and so now we're here with the grant request.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda for HHS.
All right.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Is there any further discussion on it? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, consent agenda approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Jamie, we're moving on to the timed agenda items. The adopt resolution 2310 to accept September donations.
And this donation came in toward the very end of September, so we already have a first September donation, and now this one came in at the end, so we're asking to accept this second one.
Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland to accept the September donations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. All right.
Thank you.
Next is our recognition of the HHS Employee of the Month for November.
Yes, thank you, Board. I'd like to introduce Amanda Wilson, who is our November Employee of the Month. We actually just pulled her out of the motivational interviewing training that she's doing right next door to come and accept this award. So our November Employee of the Month is Amanda Wilson. Amanda is a MinChoices Assessment Social Worker in the Assessment Services team. Amanda started her work with Wright County Health and Human Services in June 2005. She was a waiver case manager for many years and joined the Assessment Services team in February of this year. She's been a solid member of the Aging and Disability Services Division and brings a great deal of knowledge to the table. We've enjoyed having Amanda join the A-team. Her nominator states, Amanda treated me with dignity, compassion, and kindness. She explained things clearly and acted professionally yet compassionately. She spoke very clearly, answered questions, provided excellent information, and made me feel like an actual person or friend. Amanda made me feel heard and she responded to my concerns. She has given me a glimmer of hope on a dire situation. Thank you, Amanda, and congratulations on being our November 2023 HHS Employee of the Month. Thank you. Would you like to say anything?
I don't feel like I've been here since '05, so that seems kind of fun. No, I remember the client, and as soon as I knew that I was nominated, I figured it was one of two people, and it was a tough case, but I was happy to sit with her and give her the time because she didn't feel heard, through the processes, so it was good.
I appreciate that. And I think, when we bring people forward for the Employee of the Month, think about all the other employees and all the people they're touching along the way as well, and, the good things that come out of that we don't hear about all the time. So thank you so much for what you do. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda.
The overview of HHS debt collection.
Thank you. I'd like to have Jim Odell come up and do a brief discussion or a presentation on debt collection. I believe there were some questions kind of lingering after a presentation we did maybe in August on debt forgiveness and arrears forgiveness. So just to answer, maybe any outstanding questions you have, we have a brief presentation. So Jim? And with Jim, we have Shelley Stocko and Tina.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners. As Jamie mentioned, we were asked to give an overview of our collections activities processes, and this is not up there, is it? And we appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. I want to point out, as Jamie mentioned, we have Christina and Shelley here, who are our revenue debt coordinators. They have combined experience of 50 years in doing debt collections work. The debt collections is one aspect of the tasks that they perform for Wright County Health and Human Services. With that, we have a brief outline here of the collections activities that occur, and it really is what you would expect from any debt collections agency or service. And I won't go through those exhaustively, but we have processes and procedures for each of those steps. We recently passed an audit with the Minnesota Department of Revenue on our debt collections processes, specifically as it relates to revenue recapture. With that, there are various types of debts that we collect. They're broadly categorized into whether they are state debts or county debts. And it's important to realize that for debts we're collecting on behalf of the state, we are the state's fiduciary agent, and we must follow rules that the state gives us and direction that the state gives us whenever we are to forgive a debt, collect a debt, and all of the processes in between there. It's also essential to understand that Health and Human Services, sometimes there's a delicate balance between what's best for the family that owes the debt. So if a family is reunited and they have out-of-home placement debts, that debt may be may be forgiven, it may be go into forbearance or something like that while the family is trying to get back on their feet, because it often doesn't make sense to penalize a family right up front when they have the most need, most financial need. So with that, we have this types of state debts, which mostly are revolve around what's called recoupment, and that's where there has been an overpayment of from the state for services. And then we have county debts, which will mainly revolve around fees that are assessed for county services. And then when we're collecting these debts on behalf of Wright County, we follow Wright County policies. As you may be interested, for general rules, when we don't collect a debt, that is going to be when we're legally unable to. The legal judgment has expired, the statute of limitations has expired, the debt's been discharged in bankruptcy court, the debtor is deceased, although there are many cases where we will do an estate recovery when the debtor is deceased, and then there are lots of rules around that. We don't collect a debt when it's going to cost the county more to collect the debt than what we will receive in the debt. Available income and assets are insufficient to pay is another reason, or if it's not in the state's best interests to pursue the collection. Steps we take before we determine that a debt is uncollectible or is going to be written off. We use a variety of verification services to determine employment and assets, such as if a vehicle is owned, if a house is owned. We register the responsible parties with the Minnesota Department of Revenue so that any tax return that may be coming, the county recoups that before it goes to the debtor. We obtain legal judgments, and I want to say the Health and Human Services and the Revenue Debt Coordinators in particular do work very closely with the Wright County Attorney's Office in pursuing debt collections. So legal judgments are obtained. When a legal judgment is set to expire, we often can get a second legal judgment. We will do that in cases where we haven't collected the debt and there aren't other reasons to not collect the debt. And then, as I mentioned before, we pursue estate recoveries where that's possible. And the rules around estate recoveries are a little bit complex. If there is a surviving spouse, we can't collect that debt until the spouse is also deceased. But our RDCs do a fantastic job of monitoring that, setting reminders for if this event occurs, then that estate is recoverable. So a lot of effort goes into that. And then I wanted to just share our collections revenue year to date for 2023 is $1.87 million that we have collected. And of that amount, that does not include child support, by the way. And of that amount, much of it does go back to the state. I do have a dynamic report here that shows for the county debt categories where those revenues are coming back in order to support county services. That total is $270,000 year to date that we've collected. So with that is the brief overview. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Jim. Great information. I appreciate the background on the different categories from state to county collection, as well as the overview of the process that you guys go through when determining when not to collect debt, which most of them make sense to me, so I appreciate the information.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I also want to just call out both Tina and Shelley, who are here, that they do such a good job, and they've been doing it, as Jim said, for a very long time. And then I particularly see Shelley Stotko a lot in my office because she comes in with the MA estate documents. And just recently, I believe there was one for over $200,000 and another one for over $70,000 that, and there's a lot of back and forth with the attorneys for the families when all of this is happening. I mean, these folks kind of maybe hold a mini law degree in some respects. So we get great work from our revenue and debt collectors or coordinators. Thank you.
It'll be interesting to see as the future goes on, as more people outlive their assets and more of that debt will probably climb, at least in the short term, from a estate collection perspective. It'll be interesting to see what that ratio of collections looks like in 4 years, 8 years, 12 years from now, whether that number whether our ratio of collection still stays the same or whether that debt amount gets extraordinarily larger. I mean, largely that's all state money, but at the end of the day, it's still taxpayer dollars, and could be a potential large liability.
It is, and and I think counties really work differently, and some counties maybe don't pursue a lot of collecting debt. I think that there's kind of an appetite in different counties for how aggressively or how assertively they're going to collect debt, and I think we probably still are in the top tier of being focused on collecting debt that's collectible. I think the rub comes in, as Jim was saying, like, when it's no longer collectible, what's the best path forward? So, and I believe we do have good rapport with our clients that we can kind of navigate those waters when it comes up. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving down the list here, we have the presentation on adoption.
So we have another brief presentation for you, and Michelle Miller is going to come up, and she's also going to speak a little bit, if you had a chance to see the Sunday paper, about Child Protective Services, was on the front page of the Sunday paper this week, and she may have a few comments about that as well.
Frank, can I see it also on my desktop? Like my presenter view, or if not, that's okay. Sorry.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just real quick, can we just make sure that this PowerPoint gets on the record since it wasn't in the packet?
Is that what you're looking for?
Yep, it is in the packet. Yep.
Oh, is it?
It is.
Oh,
In
and
the,
it's,
yep.
my fault, sorry.
Nope.
I'm like, how did I get it?
Yeah, my fault.
Well, there's only 400 pages in there, so.
387.
Fair enough to miss a page or two.
Okay, good morning, board. So I'm not sure if folks saw the article in the newspaper this weekend. It was related to child protection. We knew it was coming. There have been multiple counties that have been contacted by the paper asking for interviews and responses to the child deaths that have taken place in Minnesota. As is the case, we cannot provide all the information related to what happened in the child deaths. Wright County was not contacted, but many counties surrounding Sherburne Stearns. Stearns was named in the article, as were multiple counties. And I think I sent out an email to our staff yesterday, one of several emails that I've sent in my time as the manager related to child protection being in the media. A lot of eyes on it. Of course, the deaths are terrible and tragic and heartbreaking. And there were statewide meetings that were held specifically to talk about how do we respond in a way that shows our humanity, because of course we are in the business to try and preserve families, keep kids safe, do what's best. And yet that is not at all what is projected in the media, and how the lack of information that we can share makes us look like we're not human, and that we're really trying to hurt kids. And honestly, I've been around long enough that it doesn't matter where you fall. We've been criticized for moving kids back too quickly and for taking kids out of the home. So it is really such a difficult job, and there's just so little support and I guess just appreciation for what workers do. And it is always pointing out the failings and the failures instead of, like what we saw this morning, the wonderful life-saving efforts. So, I know that you don't interact with our staff a lot, but when you do, just if you could, a kind word for the hard work that they do, because they really are in it for good purposes and for good outcomes for families. So I'm talking about adoption today, but adoption really starts with child protection. It starts with a maltreatment report coming in. And so I'm going to take you through some statistics, but like we saw in the media, statistics don't provide the full story. They're just a part of it. They help us. And really, our goal, and what I said to our workers, is to really follow our mission is strengthen, support, and serve families. And these stats do help us to see, gosh, are we missing some things that we need to be addressing? So just some information on the number of child protection. CP stands for child protection. In my report, it stands for many other things. But so here's a look back to 2019 of the number of reports that we receive annually. And you can see I've done an estimate. All the information that I have here is pulled from Tableau, which pulls from SSIS. System that we use. So we only get an upload once a month, so that's as current as our information. So we're on track to exceed last year, but we're pretty close in terms of numbers. When that report comes in, we have 3 workers that is what they do. They take reports and they talk to collaterals, try to gather all the information. And then it goes to a team that screens the report, looks at all the information, some history, and we make a determination based on statute and our screening guidelines as to whether or not that report then gets screened in or screened out. And you can see the numbers there back to 2019 on the number of assessments and investigations. We now just call them assessments have been completed. This time of year, we see an uptick in number of reports, and of course then more will be screened in because of school being back in session. So we expect that probably the estimates for both the reports and the assessments and investigations will actually be higher. What happens then is a lot of situations, there's an assessment, an investigation, and those workers are able to put together a safety plan for the family, drawing in some of their natural supports, other services, and then they're able to address it and close it. Only a small portion, as you can see, actually go to ongoing case management, and that is a different social worker really wearing a different hat. Again, our goal is to try and create safety as quickly as possible. As you can imagine, we have really complicated situations. Basically for this year, our numbers look to be about the same. I think I've told the board before, I'm a little bit of a stats geek. And just one thing of interest, and actually Jamie and I had this conversation, she was pointing out that our county continues to grow. We have a very young population. You probably know this. Our under 18 population is almost 27% of the Wright County total population, which is higher than Stearns, Scott, or Sherburne. They all have smaller percentages. So I think our numbers then look even better, given we have a lot of kids. And our county has grown by at least 2,000 kids over the last 2 years. So open case management, again, our goal is to keep kids with families if we can create safety. And this is a little bit of an aside, but it also, so this is actually Tableau. This is one of the screens that I see. And the reason I have it up, even though it includes all forms of case management like developmental disabilities, child welfare, children's mental health, PSAP, that it shows that the bulk of our work is with kids and families in their family home. So that is the green column. Yes, there are some kids that are out of home, 5%, and then the dark blue at the bottom is a combination of both. So the vast majority, we serve kids at home. So the last slide I have is actually related to adoption. So we have goals, teams have goals, our division has goals, and I have a few goals. One of my goals has been to see the number of cases go to adoption under 5%. And as you can see, the last couple of years, we've been at 4%. And from my perspective, how I'm looking at that is that typically that involves terminating parental rights. And that is, as the county attorney's office knows, is the most egregious thing that child protection can be involved in, is to say to a parent, you no longer get to have rights to your kids. So in the way that I view adoption is, it's fantastic when we can pair up a child or children with a forever family. That is our goal. If we can create safety with their original family, their birth family, that is also our goal. So are there any questions related to the information?
So Michelle, I'm just going to make a few generalized extrapolations from this. So assuming that we generally, the kids that go in out-of-home placements is roughly around 100 cases at any given time in Wright County.
It is currently.
Annually, yep.
It used to be more.
And we're averaging between 20 and 30 cases that are adopted. So generally about those that we take into out-of-home placements, we're looking at parental termination rights around 20 to 25% annually is what our caseloads that go into parental termination of rights. That would be a fair assumption, right? Okay. I just is interesting in what that percentage looks like in comparison in Wright County to what that looks like in other areas across the state. You know, from a termination of parental rights in a percentage wise.
My only comment would be, I would think it might be lower than that because those 100 kids, there's different 100 kids over the course of the year.
true
So it
that,
probably
yes.
is like maybe 200 or 300 kids that they go in for a few months and come out again. So the total is probably greater than 100 over the course of the year.
Right.
So,
Molly,
and I'm not a statistician.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know that
of our
you
time.
can make numbers look however you want them to
Right,
look.
right,
I
right.
get that. So, I'm careful with saying that because I don't want there to be a perception that you're about a 25% chance if your kid goes into foster care that your parental rights, because ultimately at the end of the day, all child protection cases are different.
True.
And
Yes.
that would be my next question is, do we categorize those 100 cases or so that are in out-of-home placement as to why they were taken, whether it was maltreatment, sexual abuse, drug abuse, and categorize so that way we have a better idea as to what we need to target in an area that is maybe systemic in Wright County. Maybe the vast majority of them are in maltreatment or maybe it's into lack of education. I guess there's a variety of different reasons for why a child could be put into out-of-home placement.
That's a good point.
So when a report comes in, and Molly, if there's more, you come on up and tell me. When a report comes in, that is information that we load into SSIS. Is what was the reason for that out-of-home placement? I'm sorry, not when a report comes in for that out-of-home placement. So it might be parental drug use and neglect. Those would be the two highest, and those have typically. I mean, I think they've always been the highest, and that is part of the reason why we have a child protection opioid allocation is to try to better serve those kids and families to get at those numbers. So that is, I think that's traditionally what it's been highest across Minnesota.
Makes sense.
I know there was another metric that you guys put in there from the percentage of times that kids are in out-of-home placement to adoption or reunification. That is another big number that you guys track somewhere in there because the number of days that they're in out-of-home placements that you want to either get the parental rights terminated or get them reunified. You don't want that period of limbo time
Oh,
to be spent?
permanency.
Permanency,
Yes,
that's,
yes, yes.
That's
And-
another metric that you guys usually present.
Mm-hmm.
And that number, I'm just curious if we're still holding true on that number, because the biggest thing is wanting that period, that to be less than a year, much less than 6 months to permanency, whether it's back home with the parents or in another place.
Right, yep. Thank you for asking. Actually, we have achieved all 3 levels of permanency. We have met and exceeded the state guidelines, so we're really excited about that because we've made some significant changes that I think we've talked about in the past. And if there's any questions, Tableau pulls lots of different information. You can reach out to Jamie or myself, and we're happy to get that information to you.
I appreciate this presentation. It's, as you said earlier, it's very timely. It's a lot of discussion out in the public right now. I think everybody knows that child protection cases will be and always will be complicated. I don't know that any language at the state level will be able to make it any easier or less painful or be able to make that process cleaner. I think it's something that we'll always have to continue to strive for. And how that happens, I'm not quite sure, but I think open discussions like this are probably the best way forward in trying to find a process that gets the best outcome for those kids.
Correct. Thank all your staff. Yeah, it's always an easy target to demonize what you guys do. And the media always latches on to, for some reason, they just love negative news and they blow it up. So, we appreciate all the hard work because it's not fun to be on that end.
No, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would like to reiterate that too. Thank you for all your hard work as a former foster parent and having had, children in the home. It's always a messy and hard situation, and just loving the kids and those families the best we can is what we can do. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right. Director's comments.
Yeah, I have a couple today. One of them is more of just lingo, I guess. As you know, the last legislative session was looking at how big and unwieldy the Department of Human Services in the state of Minnesota, so they're kind of bifurcating it into 2 separate areas. And just as a quick update, so the new Department of Children, Youth, and Families, which fits well after having a child protection presentation, is the name of the new department that I believe will be coming into, they're planning it now, it says on July 1st, 2024, when the Department of Children, Youth, and Families is established with a commissioner in place, identified programs from Children and Family Services at DHS, the Early Learning Services Division from the Department of Education, and some identified central operations functions where separation will transition. So it's going to just, I think, be a messy, very, kind of like a family splitting up, I guess. So we're going to have 2 separate Department of Human Services and the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And just so we start kind of getting used to that language and the fact that it's going to be one more player in the game going forward. Also, just Administrator Kelly sent out a message the other day about the National Opioid Abatement Trust, and Wright County received an additional $29,746.31 through this specific one, which is the Malincott opioid settlement. So that payment is expected in the next 10 days. And that's good news. Also, this is good. Actually, my last 2 items are also good news. As you know, public health received quite a bit of funding during the pandemic about emergency response, about vaccinations and things like that. And a lot of counties are struggling on spending the money that was provided during the pandemic. So MDH has offered an extension of our COVID vaccine and COVID recovery grants to the end of 2025 and the middle of 2026, respectively. We have about $840,000 of total unspent funds left from the original of $1.4 million funds that we were awarded in April of 2021. We spent vaccine grant funds on projects and supplies, including improving our vaccine system and integration of Acuity with Public Health Doc, with PHDoc, and vaccine supplies. And the recovery grant dollars have been spent on developing a community engagement plan, post-emergency planning and after-action reporting, support staff training to aid in community recovery, and an inventory tracking project. So basically, we've been using the funds to beef up our ability to better respond to emergencies in the future. And it's good news that we have, because we were really kind of struggling, thinking, how are we going to spend these funds in the short term? And now it's more doable, I think, with the end of 2025 and end of 2026. And it's a lot of money, so it's good news on that front. And then finally, it feels like I'm always up here talking about our min-choice assessments and where we are, and we have the wait list and how that's not a good thing for Wright County. It's not that we don't have a wait list, but our wait list has been diminished. As of Tuesday, we're anticipating that we have about 75 people on our waiting list. Staff are working very hard to keep up the pace while also starting to learn and incorporate the new 2.0 tool. And another, just for an awareness for you commissioners, face-to-face home visits will be required as of the first of this month, actually, increasing travel time. So while we are doing a better job in getting our wait list at a better place, we're going to just start now realizing that staff are required to go out and do face-to-face, where we were able to do some virtual appointments and things like that. So it'll just hopefully, with the trend continues, it's my goal is to have this down to, under a couple dozen cases on a wait list at any given time, and that trajectory, I think, is in sight. So that's the good news. We have 5 initial assessors and 5 reassessors using the new tool. Remaining staff will launch in December and January. This is from Jill Pooler, who works very closely with the state office on this new min-choice tool 2.0. Still many concerns, still many workarounds and fixes. Results are not always consistent with the previous tool's results, which makes us, kind of like which one is right and which one is wrong, and it causes frustrations with clients as it impacts their services and budgets. We're not seeing the efficiencies at this point for our staff, and that we are being very clear in our concerns to the state office. So those are my comments. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Any questions, board members? Thank you, Jamie.
Okay, thank you.
We're keeping relatively closely on time here. Moving to the 9:50 timed agenda item, we have the denial of a tobacco license for Monty Tobacco LLC, located or with the proposed location of 213 Pine Street, Monticello. Is Lindsay or Tyler going to come up, or Attorney
Mr. Chair, I can also handle it for him since I'm already up here. This is an application that Finance received for tobacco license. It was going to be located at 213 Pine Street in Monticello. Staff in the review calculated that it would be at 942 feet from the Monticello Community Center. I think there were other places that would also call within that setback range, but this is at least one that we've identified. So looking at a formal resolution to deny the tobacco license. So, Mr. Chair, otherwise, members of the board, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions, board members? All right. So with that,
motion.
all right. Motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, resolution. Commissioner Shane.
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimous for the denial of tobacco license for Monty Tobacco LLC. Thank you. All right, moving on to the 9:55, we have Administrator Mark Mattice hiding in the back of the room, coming forward to schedule a committee of the whole for December 12th following the county board meeting with the MPCA.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Didn't know Lindsay would be that fast. Yes, would like to schedule a committee of the whole for December 12th following the board meeting with the MPCA to discuss score funds, how they work. Been talking about countywide recycling programs. Is there going to be a need for that in the future? How does that all work? And just kind of more of an update and informational sharing session with MPCA and planning and zoning.
I appreciate you setting this up. I think this is a good background of discussions that we have to have as we have more robust discussions on our compost facility and our waste management plan and what we plan to do here in the short term, midterm, and long term.
Yep.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion of that December 12th at, we'll say, 10:30 a.m.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Shane,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous.
Okay, second item is actually to schedule another meeting. As we move forward with the household hazardous waste design, we went through the programming aspect of that facility of what we do now and what we're gonna keep and what we're not gonna keep. As we review, proposals for that, we'll be doing interviews coming up here soon, for those firms. We'd like to make sure that when we're going through the program aspects, that we address any potential future use of that facility, with problem materials, mattresses, couches, yada, yada. That was a Seinfeld reference, yada, yada. So we'd like to schedule a meeting to review that with the board, so that we continue to move forward properly with that project. And that's a great follow-up after the SCORE meeting. So a lot of information with household hazardous waste moving forward.
It'll definitely assist in the scoping when looking at the compost facility, so we do need that information. Does that work for everybody, December 14th at 10 a.m.?
Yep.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and the last item, number 3, again, household hazardous waste. As we select the firm to do the programming design work, we had 4 proposals come in. Like I said, we're gonna be interviewing those coming up at the staff level, entering into the contract, knowing that this is an issue we want to continue to have great communication about with the county board. We'd like to develop somewhat like an owner's committee or something to help through that design process to make sure we're checking the boxes the county board would like to do. We vetted some of this out to the CIP Finance Committee 2 weeks ago, I believe, just to make sure we're going on the right page, and we want to stay in that sync with the county board. So we'd like to have you appoint 2 commissioners that would assist with this design and programming aspect as we meet with our selected architects.
First and foremost, I think Commissioner Catchmark, he's not here, but I think he should be one of the members that's appointed on there. I think he has had a great deal of interest on it, so from that
And Mr.
perspective.
Chair, I think Jeannie would also be a good one.
I wouldn't mind doing it.
Okay. Otherwise, I would volunteer. So either way.
Either one of you two would be very well suited for it, so I'll let you guys arm wrestle it out there.
We'll figure it out.
Well, we have to actually formally,
yeah.
we make
So,
a
formal committee.
formal, yeah, so you guys rock, paper, scissors, whatever you guys.
I want to see the arm wrestling contest.
If you want to.
Frank, you like an arm wrestler, aren't you?
I'll do it.
You do it? All right. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to appoint Commissioner Catchmark and Commissioner Holland to the Household Hazardous Waste Design Committee. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Sorry.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Shane to appoint Commissioner Catchmark and Commissioner Holland to the Household Hazardous Waste Facility Design Committee. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. All right, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to items for consideration, to schedule a committee of the whole to discuss the sheriff and county attorney salaries for 2024. This is an annual routine that we need to do. Did we get dates from either of them?
Yes, sir, I did. Did reach out to both our attorney as well as the county sheriff, and the date, Monday, the 20th at 10 a.m. The board will be here for an EDA earlier in the day, so I thought that time would work well. So that would be my recommendation from staff.
November 20th.
November?
November 20th, Monday. I had a typo in the agenda item, so.
Oh, I thought that was usually December. Okay.
That works.
You guys want to do the 20th at what time?
10 a.m.?
10 a.m. So you're, all right.
Okay.
November 20th at 10 a.m. All right, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Holland to set a committee of the whole to discuss elected official salary for the sheriff and county attorney on Monday, November 20th at 10 a.m. All in favor, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, and next item would be to schedule a meeting with the legislators for the suggested date of December 7th we targeted, wasn't it, was it the morning or afternoon?
I believe the discussion at the workshop was that we would do the afternoon on this date, and that was the preference. We
Sure.
had gotten indicated also from several of our legislators.
So we're gonna go with like a 2 p.m.?
I think that'd be a good recommendation.
All right.
Is there any chance we can get it closer to noon? Or did they?
I think their thought was that we would do this
we
because
have
then
a
it would
six.
run into the truth and taxation meeting.
Oh,
or the-
right
Yeah,
afterwards.
so that we doesn't put a big, huge gap in the day.
Get it?
But
Okay, that's fine.
it's fine.
What time?
Fine.
What time?
2. Or you can go 2:30 too. I mean, either way.
Could we push it more towards like 2:30 or 3, because I have a meeting until 3.
Yeah, we can certainly, we could even do it at 3 o'clock. That would be fine too, because then it makes it just run right into the evening, so.
Okay.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion for the legislative meeting on December 7th at 3 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Holland, second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. Sorry. Next is the discussion of referred items to the November 14th workshop for next week.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Had included in your packet a number of items, some of our routine things such as scheduling meetings as needed, as well as the commissioner updates that we've always done. Additionally, election precinct in the government center, we've been contacted by Buffalo, would like to give the board more information about that. Also talk about license application process that we're working on for some of our tobacco and other licenses. Provide an overview of ash borer in Wright County, just to get a status and discuss any potential future direction from the board. Additionally, as Matt Detchen is here, we'd like to give you an update on ditch assessments and where that process is at. And then lastly, a few items on our strategic plan, where we're at, an update as well as some feedback from the board would be appreciated at this juncture. So a number of items, certainly open if there are other things to add.
One item I might just discuss in brief discussion is the CMRP, because we'll have a resolution that will be coming forward to the county board likely in December as the group transitions from a JPA to a nonprofit. So I'll probably take a few minutes to give the lay of the land on why that transition is and what that means at the workshop as well. If Administrator Kelly wants to add that. One item I wanted to also, being that we don't have a workshop in December, discussion as to whether we want to do it this next week, have the discussion about advisory board assignments, or do you want to set a separate meeting in December? I've been approached by a couple different board members as to when we would have that discussion potentially.
I would propose that we give an update of where we're at on our committee, both the public appointments, but also the committee assignments for next year. And then in December, hold the meeting where we get together and assign committee assignments for the commissioners.
Okay.
So kind of a two-parter there. Both, we have a couple of appointments to the citizen committees that we've been asked to do recruitments for. Wanted to get an update to the board on where we're at in that process and identify those, but then also the board's committee assignments for next year.
So we'll just set that one at the November 21st meeting, a committee of the whole, then to discuss that sometime in December. Okay, that works. I'll entertain, I guess this is just informational, so we don't really actually have to adopt any action for the workshop agenda items. Next, we'll be moving down to the recommendations from the October 17th Personnel Committee. The first one was a discussion that had kind of rewinded all the way back to the budget process, and even prior to that, this had been articulated by IT Director Fomby for quite some time, and this is actualizing the work of one of the IT managers and actually quantifying him as an assistant IT director. So this recommendation was to move forward with bringing to the November 7th county board meeting the approval of the reclassification of the IT technical services manager to assistant director, quantifying the work that he's actually doing and to meet the organizational chart moving forward for IT. The second one is the moving forward with bringing are approving HHS new staff additions of 3 over comp eligibility specialists. This is having to do with the whole MA unwinding, which keeps getting extended. So case loads are getting extraordinarily high, turnover is high, so those two together are not meeting it. So hopefully, and because the training period for eligibility specialists is quite long, we want to make sure that we can keep somebody in the seat at all times so we can keep the caseload manageable. As well as that's what the second recommendation is the same with that as well, with the lead eligibility specialist. Then the third recommendation is the reclassification of 1 lead eligibility specialist to a social worker. This has to do with the same discussion with moving these eligibility specialists. This is actually moving a sector of work that they do within the eligibility specialists and moving it into social services to get better client interaction, as well as being able to move the caseloads faster. So this is just kind of overall leveraging the internal systems, and it has no cost bearing as well. Then the other side moving down would be the taking of 1 social worker position and making it into 2 part-time positions, so just a job share. It's listed as adding a position, but that is not the case. It is actually, that was typo. It is taking 1 full-time position and making it 2 part-time. So with that, I would look for a motion to approve the recommendations from the Personnel Committee.
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Shane,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I will thank the board for their efforts on what we're doing here for the eligibility specialists, and the MA portion on that side. It's unbelievable, the caseload, and this will be hopefully a step forward in an area that doesn't have a long-term effect to us, but it gives them something where the work right now is going to be high in the short term, as we know, and this gives them some short-term relief potentially, so hopefully this will solve the issue. We'll see.
I want to thank Kim and her staff.
So, moving on to the October 24th Personnel Committee, there was the recommendation to allow court services to begin the hiring process of a correction agent that was approved in the 2024 budget. This one had some special circumstances that created a vacant position sooner than later, and they'd like to move forward with getting that position filled sooner than later. So, and there's capacity within their budget to fulfill that spot with moving the hiring process forward. So,
I'll make that motion.
all right.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland, second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. All right, as we come to the end of the board meeting here, is there any quick announcements anyone wants to make before we adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I will not be able to attend the workshop next week. Just want to FYI, I'll be at a conference for the TZD.
All right, thank you very much for the heads up on that. If there's no other business, we will adjourn the county board meeting at 10:10.